What's going on, guys? It's Adam P, and welcome back to more Newcastle United transfer news. Third player through the door. Malik Chow will head to the airport tonight. He will stay overnight and he will conduct his medical tomorrow. So, first off, before we get into anything, if you are new around here, make sure you get down there, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the Malik Chow medical content. We're going to go find the guy tomorrow. We're going to go find the guy at some point. So make sure you stay updated and join the 40% who are already subscribed watching these videos. Make sure you join the community, get involved, and make sure you don't miss any upcoming transfer news. Now, going back on topic, after watching the pre-season games, I am glad we are bringing the centre half in because we certainly need it. I'm looking forward to see what he can do around the £35 million region, and I would imagine he will be featured on the bench against Aston Villa this week as we head into the Premier League season. Now, of course, as football fans, we all have the question, who is next? What player will Newcastle bring in next? And we are here today in this video to get to the bottom of it. And we're going to start off with the obvious signing. Yoane Wissa is signing throughout the summer, who has continued to state he wants Newcastle and he wants Newcastle only. Keith Downey in his YouTube video yesterday even said Liverpool attempted to sign Yoane Wissa, has stuck with Newcastle. Now, let's start off with this part. Liverpool, what are you doing? We are trying to sign Wissa. We are trying to bring strikers in so we can actually be able to allow an Alexander Isak sale. Why would you try and buy Wissa? What are you doing there? We are trying to let you have Isak. Listen, I think majority of fans now, including Aghehowa yesterday, you look at Luke Edwards' article, he claimed from the Telegraph that Isak is not for sale this summer. He claimed that Isak will be held back by Newcastle and he will not be allowed to leave. Aghehowa disproved that yesterday in his press conference. How he said he wasn't aware of anything like that. It's out of his control and he does not know if Isak will stay this summer. That is from the manager in the press conference last night. I was there, I heard it. That's what the manager said. Now, when you look at the situation itself, I don't know why Liverpool would engage with our options. We're trying to be able to get these players in so we can replace Isak. So the fact that he even entered the race to sign Wissa, just sheer arrogance, to be honest. Like, we've been trying to get this guy all summer long. You talk about us tapping up Wissa, but what do you expect? Like, we obviously are going to get the player in. He clearly wants to be at Newcastle. He's not going to turn his head now at Liverpool. We're clearly in there. Newcastle is the club that's going to sign him this summer. He's turned down Tottenham. He looked at other options, not happening at all. Only Newcastle has been the quote from journalists all summer long, and that is not going to change. But in terms of his whereabouts and what's going on with him, Brentford still replacing him, so they're close to bringing the striker in. It sounds like they're waiting until the option's in there, which sounds extremely close, and then they'll allow a Wissa sale. So that's what the delay seems to be, just Brentford sorting that option out, and then he will allow Wissa to join up with Newcastle now. Again, I mentioned Isak in several videos, I don't like his actions. I also don't like the actions of Yoane Wissa. And Liverpool fans, like, there you go. I don't like either player doing it, okay? I don't know why so many people keep going against me for that. Like, I've always said the same thing about Wissa that I've said about Isak. They always seem to think that I've been biased solely towards Isak. Like, I definitely haven't. Isak's in the wrong, Wissa's in the wrong. Are you happy now? As for the Porto player, 21-year-old, 6'4" striker who bagged 19 goals and I think 27 goals across all competitions last season. Craig Hope yesterday in his YouTube video described that player as being quoted by Porto £80 million, and that is why no club has officially went in for him yet. £80 million is the asking price, which is an extreme amount to bring him in. I'm not going to deny it, but we've already seen with Newcastle this summer, they've thrown that kind of money at Ekitike, they've thrown that kind of money at Benjamin Sesko, and this is the player they also look at as being that sort of level player that's going to come into Newcastle. So again, while £80 million is mental money, you would probably assume Newcastle's willing to go somewhat towards that mark. You probably assume Newcastle's willing to put 70 down, 60 to 70 mark, I would imagine. And it's a player that has a very similar background and build to Isak. Again, when you look at the option, he's coming in from an unknown league, a player that we don't know how he's going to do in the Premier League, but has very similar attributes to Isak, a quick, explosive player who also looks good in the air and for his age as well. Certainly a player, I think, especially alongside Yoane Wissa and having experienced players around him, a player that will not have a lot of pressure on him because he's got those options around him that are also going to help him out. So for him, he's got a chance to nurture, to flourish at Newcastle. And hopefully this one knows how to respect the football club as well. Hopefully this one, if he comes in, will be able to really help us out. I'm happy to sign if we do get him. But again, at this stage, it just seems to be a massive valuation that the club is currently not prepared to throw everything at him. And speaking of respect, did any of you guys see how well respected Kieran Trippier was yesterday from the Madrid staff members and players? Every single one of them was going over to Kieran, hugging him, high-fiving him, just saying hello. And that's what respect's all about. And again, in a couple of years' time, when a certain someone who's not playing at Newcastle anymore is coming up to St James's Park, I would love to see what the reaction is with our teammates, because I'm willing to bet it certainly wouldn't be as positive as that was towards Kieran yesterday. And I wanted to kind of remind you all of players like Kieran Trippier, players like Bruno Guimaraes, who, of course, joined Newcastle in the depths, 19th in the Premier League, players who took literal gambles from Champions League level clubs to come and play for a team that was, at the time, quoted to go down to the Championship. These players kept us up. These players kept us afloat. These players then got us Champions League football, and then these players won us silverware. So when you look back at players like this, legendary players are always going to go down in our minds and always going to go down in our hearts. But, of course, one player will certainly not be remembered as well as those were. And finally, going away from this video, again, we have been referencing Isak quite a bit. Let's just mention Isak straight up now. After coming out from the press conference yesterday, how, again, just doesn't have that full 100% confidence either way. He doesn't know which way it's going to go. He continues to say it's out of his hands. He wants to keep Alexander Isak in Newcastle, but also states that he is fully aware that that may not be possible depending on the ownership and depending on what happens to our football club. We can't deny it is a record-breaking Premier League sale if he leaves this summer, which is ridiculous money. You've seen Aston Villa do well with the sale of Jack Grealish. You've seen West Ham do well with the sale of Declan Rice. And even Liverpool, you've seen them do well with the sale of Philippe Coutinho. When you look at the situation now, I still think it's untenable. I stand by it. How says there's a way back for the player. How has left that door wide open for the player, but the player continues to shut that door. I don't think there's a way back. I continue to state it. I mean, this is a player who won't be playing at least the next 3 Premier League games. He's still not training with the first team. Yes, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and yes, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but you have to look at the fact. This is a player who is training by himself at the training ground, and this is a player who has not featured at all in Newcastle United's pre-season, while, of course, now not going to be featuring our first few Premier League games. So I don't think it's tenable. I think even if you keep him this summer, it's next summer he's going, and then you lose value, and then you got a player that's unhappy behind the scenes, that's clearly disruptive to the dressing room. I've mentioned in several videos now that I think there's a lot of information being leaked by a certain someone and his agent. So when you look at the entire situation, I just don't think we can do it. I don't think we can keep a hold of him, and I would love to see things different. I would love to see this player all of a sudden have a change of heart and stay in Newcastle. Of course I do. I'm a Newcastle fan. I want to see the best of the best. And for Newcastle to be able to continue progressing as a club, you do need to keep your best players. I also say that as well. If you're selling a big player every single summer transfer window, that's not sustainable either. So it's a tough balance. It is a tough balance, but a player who just doesn't want to be here. He is a literal gold mine. If you sell him, you get ridiculous amount of money for him. And I just don't see how we can do it. I don't see how we can keep him. And Eddie Howe also kept a strong message yesterday that he only wants players at Newcastle United who want to be here and want to play for this shirt. Alexander Isak is someone who does not want to be here. So it's only got one outcome, in my opinion. It's just whether it's Liverpool or not. I still feel like, in our point of view, we need to try and get him away from the Premier League. And currently, Liverpool's the only team that's there. No one else in world football has attempted to sign Isak. No one has put a legitimate bid in there. No one has shown interest. But what if Newcastle was that team? Eventually, once we get these options in, we then encourage teams to come in for Isak. Why not contact PSG and go, well, hang on, Isak, we got a player here that's unhappy. We'll sell you Isak. Listen, you can have him for, we'll give you for £120 million. There you are, we'll give you an offer. We'll give you an offer now. You can have him for a little less than what we would have charged Liverpool. Just, it may sound a bit petty and it may sound a bit desperate from Newcastle, but why not offer the guys to different football clubs? PSG's got a lot of good players there. Hell, there's even players in that PSG squad where you can probably go, well, listen, you can have Isak for 90 to £100 million, but we want this player with the sale of Isak, so you're trading and getting money in and letting Isak go there. Like, there are teams out there you probably can do that with. I think it's a bit unorthodox. I don't think you've ever seen a football club actively promote a player to go somewhere else. But Liverpool has obviously been the team that's been heavily involved with Isak behind closed doors. I'm willing to bet for months on end they have been contacting Isak. There's been certainly been things taught to the player because he would not act in this way regardless. Now, you look at Isak's last ever goal for Newcastle against Brighton. That was a 1-1 draw down at the Amex. I mean, he scores a pen, gets the ball and runs back the halfway line. And just his attitude then and just his attitude throughout his time at Newcastle always came across as a player when he wanted to play. He always came across as a player that wanted to give 100%, wanted to see Newcastle succeed, and he busted his arse off. So they kind of see him be the complete opposite now, be a player that's so distant and so far apart from Newcastle. It's such a weird one. It's such a weird one because it feels almost out of character for me to say he doesn't seem to be that sort of player. You look at his interviews across the last year or so, always speaks well about Newcastle, always says, well, as long as Newcastle's in the Champions League, I've got a place I want to be at. I want to be here and I want to see Newcastle succeed. So now that Newcastle has won something and now Newcastle's back in the Champions League, they kind of see him be the complete opposite now and just do completely want out. It's a weird character shift. It's a weird shift. And again, you just have to question what's changed his mind, what has changed his head, and what's changed the way he's behaved at Newcastle. And I certainly feel like it's a massive part of what he has been taught. I think he's certainly been taught a lot, either from the club or from someone else that he hasn't liked or he's wanted to go somewhere else because of what he's been taught from the likes of Liverpool. And it's it's a weird one. Again, we don't know the answers at the minute. It'll be a long time before we know his answers, but certainly a situation that just seems to be untenable for Newcastle. I just don't see us keeping him. But if you can get him away from Liverpool, I certainly feel like we've done them over as well. So that's perhaps the best way Newcastle can get away from this now. But how we get a different team to come in for Isak, I will never know. And if Isak wants to go to a different team, we don't know that answer as well. So it's one of them ones where we have to wait and see, but certainly not over, not from a long shot.